Richard Roeper, Chicago Sun-Times nationally syndicated columnist, movie critic, and his new podcast, The Best Movies, ongoing series with various episodes, including a 6-part series on the best movies of the decade, upcoming series on the best James Bond movies. Follow him on Twitter at Richard E. Roeper. Hi, Richard.
Dan, always good to talk to you. How you doing?
I'm great. Give me the movie in the last 5 years, Academy Award nominated movie, that you would watch over and over.
Oh, wow. Last 5 years, over and over. My my first thought is the movie I never want to see again, which would be Bohemian Rhapsody. Being a critic, of course, I always go in the opposite direction. When we talk about repeatability, I'd say the movie in the last 5 years that I'd watched over and over is a movie from 2019, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's the type of movie you can drop in any time. It's like a Scorsese film, a Goodfellas, anything like that. Any moment of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a brilliant scene.
Why did Tarantino continue to drag out all of the scenes?
Well, I think when you got a good thing going, you keep going with it. That's sort of like asking why did Led Zeppelin make Stairway to Heaven 8.5 minutes. I like that pacing, Dan, and I know with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and certainly with The Irishman, some people get a little fidgety because the scenes don't cut like normal movies do, or I should say typical movies do these days. I like it when a movie gives a scene a chance to breathe.
I'll give you that because you got a lot. You could have cut that movie by 30 minutes and nobody would have missed anything there. And look, he's a brilliant filmmaker, and I always, love to watch what he does and the craft that he has with it. But it just felt like there was a scene that you go, okay, then it ends, or it should end, and then all of a sudden it continues. The little girl talks to Leonardo DiCaprio, and then it goes on and on and on. I go, all right, but and Brad Pitt's probably winning an Academy Award, right?
He's definitely going to win, Dan. And, here's the thing with Brad Pitt. Out of the supporting actor nominees this year, he's the only one that doesn't have an acting victory, an acting Oscar. And he's really, really good in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. As you know, it's really a co-lead. He and Leo are co-leads in the movie. They put Leo up for lead and then Brad up for supporting. But he's a popular guy. He's a guy everyone likes to work with. And I thought it was actually kind of a perfect marriage between a guy's on-screen persona and the role that Tarantino clearly intended for Brad Pitt to have.
He was funny. And I think that sometimes when you see somebody not playing to what you think their character is, that's why he stood out. Like he had he's sort of a goofy guy. And
he is you're absolutely right. He is a goofy guy. He's a guy, the DiCaprio character, these guys are in parallel paths in their lives. DiCaprio's character feels like his B-level career as an actor is coming to an end, whereas Brad Pitt has long come to terms with the fact that he was never going to be a star. He's just a stuntman turned glorified gopher, and he's okay with that. He's going to enjoy life. He's going to have a beer. He's going to meet women and just have a good time.
Well, my guys are kind of split on The Irishman. I got bored by it.
Well, listen, I hear this from people a lot, Dan, and people were very intimidated by the running time. It does have a certain deliberate pace. As someone who sees 350 movies a year, and so many of them are cut to appeal to the attention deficit disorder generation, and they move it exactly the same. And they move it exactly the same.
You're right. You're right.
I know exactly when they're going to cut to the next scene, Dan. I know how they're going to use the visual punchline. And I like it. And listen, I understand what people are saying, but when people say to me, hey, listen, man, I can't watch The Irishman in one sitting, I'm like, but you'll binge watch all 6 seasons of Schitt's Creek without ever getting out of bed, or you'll watch 6 NCAA basketball games on Saturday without saying it's too long. So it's all a matter of what you're interested in seeing.
Yeah, but Schitt's Creek is better than The Irishman, though.
How dare you? Yeah, there's a quote. There's a quote for the DVD box collection.
Here are the 2 best movies this year. You ready?
I'm ready.
Parasite and Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, I'm not going to disagree with either one of those. And it's interesting. You pick, you pick 2 films that are way outside the norm. Obviously, Parasite being a foreign language film and really having some great stuff. And then Jojo Rabbit in this era, we talk about everybody being politically correct and afraid to take chances. And here's a movie about a 10-year-old boy with Hitler as an imaginary friend. Talk about a bold move. I love both of those films.
Yeah, I just thought, and I think Scarlett Johansson has had an unbelievable year. I loved her more than Adam Driver in Marriage Story. I thought she was spectacular in there, but
she was great. And it's interesting too. She's never been nominated for an Oscar before. Now she's got the Daily Doubles, lead actress and supporting actress. I think a lot of people thought, she must have been nominated for Lost in Translation, but no, she never was nominated until this year.
She was great in Lost in Translation, but Bill Murray's character was so big that I'm surprised she wasn't nominated as Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I think most people just assumed that she had been. And you mentioned Jojo Rabbit. What I loved about her performance there, Dan, was Scarlett has often played, she plays the Black Widow, or she plays these kind of almost ice queens. And in Jojo Rabbit, she's a mom. She's a mother in the most trying of circumstances. And I thought it was her warmest and most empathetic performance.
Okay, so who wins? Best movie is going to be?
It's going to be 1917, but Parasite and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood still have an outside shot.
Okay. Best actor?
Joaquin Phoenix for sure. He's your mortal lock. He's like Lamar Jackson for MVP this year. It was a foregone conclusion, and he should win. It's a great performance.
I hated the ending of that movie, though.
Yeah,
the talk show thing with De Niro, it just dragged, and you had so much tension, and you knew that something was going to happen there, but it just took forever. And I was okay with the very end with the total anarchy, but the talk show portion of that, I was bored. And De Niro didn't even seem like he was the right person for that role.
It's a polarizing film, and De Niro, I think, was a double-edged sword there because so much of that film was clearly based on Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, which are two obvious, huge De Niro films. So the casting felt a little bit like stunt casting. I see what you mean. It kind of took you out of the movie a little bit.
I just thought that Joaquin Phoenix is wonderful in there. I don't know why he had to show that he lost all this weight or he's really skinny, because it's not like that had anything to do with his role. But he takes off his shirt, or he has his shirt off one time. You go, it's not like you're putting, this isn't Raging Bull here or something. It had nothing to do with his character.
Yeah, I'm over all of the radical weight gains and losses and then we get the inevitable stories from the beautiful actress or the hunky dude talking about what a sacrifice they made. And, this classic quote that Laurence Olivier gave to Dustin Hoffman on the set of Marathon Man when he told him, why don't you try acting? It's so much easier.
So the best supporting is going to be Brad Pitt. Best actor, you already said. Best actress?
Renee Zellweger for Judy.
I thought she won it. I thought I went to see it. There is a scene at the very end where I thought she was her. I thought that she had actually become her. And it's, at the very end when she's melting down and she wants her one last chance on stage. I thought that she was great in a movie that I didn't think was great.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because it doesn't have any other nominations in any other categories. I think it's a classic example of how much Hollywood loves itself and loves biopics about itself. So she's going to win. I didn't love the performance, honestly. Okay. I thought it was good impersonation, not a great performance. The
movie in 2020 that we should definitely see.
Well, there's a lot of great stuff coming out. Right now, in the near horizon.
And I have another Sandler movie coming out in 2020. Good. I just want to let you know. I play Did Sandler get jobbed here?
Yes. First of all, he did. I thought it was a great performance. I also thought that Kevin Garnett playing a stylized version of Kevin Garnett gave one of the best performances an athlete has ever given in a movie. Wasn't he terrific? I mean,
yes.
There was something about him. I mean, he's so menacing as he had been on court a lot of times, as a player. But, very dark, wicked sense of humor. I think that movie deserved multiple Oscar nominations.
Okay,
best picture,
but
best screenplay, best director. Yeah.
The best acting by an athlete in a movie is who?
Gosh. I mean, you mean ever any athlete?
Yeah. I'm curious.
Actor. I'm riffling through and rifling through all of it. I mean, it depends on who we call, who was really an athlete, because a lot of these guys played a little college ball, like Burt Reynolds and Chris Christopherson and people like that. You get to a certain point where are they considered more actors or athletes? And I don't know. Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't tell you who I think is the absolute best performance by an athlete.
Kareem was pretty good. Kareem was pretty good in Airplane.
Kareem is good, but those roles. Kareem is good, but those roles are served up, though. Dan. I mean, it's when you see again, you see somebody like Garnett, who's actually asked to play something and actually really a participant in the film and not a glorified cameo. I'm more impressed by that.
It's great to talk to you, Richard. Thanks for joining us as always, and love to have you back on again.
I'd love to come on again, Dan. And just one last aside, you realize with your movie critiques, you're starting to sound like the dad in the back row of the theater. You do realize that at this point, right? They're too long. Get to the point.
Well, wait a minute, but I just gave you Parasite and Jojo Rabbit. That's not the dad. That's cutting-edge movie critic right there.
That was your redeeming moment, my friend,
thank
right there.
God.
That was your redeeming moment.
I am Gene Shalit with a jump shot is what I am.
There's another quote for somebody to use.
Thank you, Richard. That's Richard Roeper, Chicago Sun-Times. You can follow him on @RichardE.Roeper.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.